Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode. This is the first episode of a new initiative which I started, which is known as 30 Minutes of GitHub. So last month, I was wondering what else I can do for the community, and I realized the power of GitHub. I mean, uh, if you have, if you are a developer, I am already sure you know about GitHub and what you can achieve using GitHub, right? You can actually go ahead and collaborate with a developer who is sitting across or in another, let's say in USA, or he's sitting somewhere in Europe, and you can still work together, right? And most of the open source projects are of course available on GitHub. So I came up with this idea, which is known as 30 minutes of GitHub, and where I will introduce you some features, not all, of course. 30 minutes is really less time. So I'll try to cover as much as possible in 30 minutes. And today's agenda is actually to start with introduction. So we will see the basics, like you will see how we can install Git, which is the Git client which needs to be installed before you can go ahead and interact with any of the this repositories, right? I mean, or any of the systems where you can actually deploy your basically push your code, for example, Bitbucket, GitHub, or even TFS. So Git client is of course required. Then we will see how you can create your account on GitHub, and then we'll see how you can create your first repository, and then how you can interact with your repository, the you which one you have created. So there are multiple ways. I will show you most of them, and then we'll see how we can make our first commit and then push the changes back to GitHub. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we start, let me just introduce myself. My name is Santosh Yadav, and I am one of the Google developer expert for Angular. I'm a GitHub star as well, and I'm an author ambassador. Apart from that, you can actually see me speaking at conferences, meetups, and doing some of the open source work which I do. So let's see how we can actually go ahead and install Git client, which is necessary, which is required. So I'll just open a new page. So in Google, hey Alice, hi, thanks for joining. So I just went to Google and I did something called Git download, so which will actually give me the Git client which we need. And you can see it is available for Mac OS, Windows, and Linux. Of course, I use Windows. Yes, I'm a developer and still use Windows. So I'll just download this. I already have it. Thanks, Alicia. So I already have this installed. I think I updated it last week, but just to show you, I'll just install it again. So once it is downloaded, so hey Anil, hi, thanks for joining. Let me see if I can increase the font size. It's git-scm.com and slash download, where this is where you can actually go ahead and download this one. And I'm not sure why my internet is working slow. Probably okay, due to I think due to live stream it is. But let me see. I already have the previous download, which should be available, and I can go to downloads. Okay, here it is. And it is asking me for permissions. Yeah, I want to install it. And this is the screen which you will get once you start installing Git client. So you can click on, there is an option which says only show new options, because I already have it installed. Of course, I have to get it installed, right? Otherwise I won't be able to code. And it says only show new options. I'm saying it's okay. Show me all the options, because this is something which I want all the developers to be aware of. I know this is really small font, but let me just try and see if I can zoom in. Okay, so here it is. The first option which is showing me right now, it says use Visual Studio Code as Git's default editor. And I'm sure most of the developers today use VS Code. So I'll just continue with the same. So let's go ahead and say next. And here it is. It's a new feature. I'm sure everyone knows about it. If you are not, so let me just tell you. Last year there was a lot of discussion in the community saying we should not use master name as a branch, right? Master and slave, which we used to call. So GitHub came up with an idea. They said, okay, we will change it. We will change the default branch from master to main. And then Git client also decided to incorporate the same changes. Now it says there are two options. It says let Git decide what will be the name of your new repository, or sorry, default initial branch of your new repository, or let's use main. So I'm saying, okay, override the default branch name for new repositories and use name. And the Git, it says Git uses the default branch name as master right now. So I'll say, okay, just override it and use main. And next, we have three options. It says use Git from Git Bash, Git from command line, and also third-party software. This is what I'm going to use because I can just use Git from anywhere. And the next option is open the sorry, use the HTTPS transport backend. Here you can use OpenSSL or native Windows secure channel libraries. As I am on Windows, I will go with this later one. And now the next option is check out Windows style, commit Unix style line ending, or check out as it is, commit Unix style line endings, or check out as it is and commit as it is. So I'll just use the first one, the Windows style. And now it says, you want to use a terminal emulator to use Git Bash? I will say, okay, I am going to use the Windows default console window. That's absolutely fine. And what is the behavior of git pull? So I'm going to use the default one. You can also use replace if you want to. A lot of projects use replace. So whenever you are raising an PR, let's say to any open source projects, you have to actually rebase and then open the PR. So just to let you know. And here it says, okay, there are for credential helper, there are three options. It says, okay, credential helper, Git credential manager core, which is new one I am seeing for the first time. And earlier Git credential manager, which was available, or use none. So I'll just go with the new one. Let's see. I hope it doesn't break any of the existing things which I have, or any existing projects which I have. And it says, okay, do you want to enable file caching, file system caching, and enable symlinks? Yes, I will go ahead and use it. And it says enables experimental support for pseudo consoles. I am sure this is also a new one. So it says it allows running native console programs like Node or Python in a Git bash. A Git bash. Okay. So I think yes, we can go ahead and say yes. Not a problem. So far, I use a normal command prompt or PowerShell to run Node commands. So you can also use Git bash. That's pretty cool. So let see once it is completed. And meanwhile, I'll go to the Git GitHub, because the next thing which we have to do is we have to create our account. So let's move on and say github.com. I already have my account, so I'll just go ahead and say sign out. Okay, so this is the homepage, and I really love this homepage. This was actually done last year in November. I think anyone remembers? It was GitHub Universe, right? So GitHub Universe, yes. So in GitHub Universe, they launched this new homepage, and you can see this. You can see these lines. These are actually not dummy. This is actually real-time lines telling you that, okay, this there is a PR which is being raised from this particular city, and the repository owner, or the whoever owns the repository, actually is in another country, or let's say in another uh, yeah. So you can see this one, right? So this is the PR number actually. Yeah, another continent actually. So you can see this PR was raised from some where this user belongs to some other city, and the repository is actually available somewhere else. So this is pretty cool, and it was created. And this actually it doesn't hang your page as well, so that's pretty cool. I mean, this real-time data coming and showing how from where to where the PR is being raised. And once you are on this page, you can go ahead and say sign up. You can choose your username, email address, and password. and verify your account. That's what you have to do. And once you're done, of course, I already have the account, so I'm not going to create a new one, but just to tell you, always enable two-factor authentication. So a lot of projects actually get into issues where their repositories get deleted by someone else without, because they were missing two-factor authentication. So once you create your account, please go ahead and create or set up two-factor authentication. That's very important. So I'll just do a sign in once the account is created, and you'll see this is authentication code, which is it is asking right now because I have two-factor authentication enabled. Okay. So once you are here, this is the page from where you can actually go ahead and create new repositories, or you can actually create a new repository locally. We'll show you later on. Later on. So here, this is the cool part. So I think a GitHub homepage or the first page which you get is it is very much accessible because all the important options are actually in front of you. So you can go ahead and say, okay, create a new repository. Okay, and there are few templates you can choose from. So let's say I have few templates. For example, ng worker is part of one of the sorry is one of the project which I'm part of. So these two templates are available in case I want to use it. So I will say, okay, I don't want to use any template, and you can give a repository name. I'll say, okay, this is 30 minutes of GitHub. So this is my repository name, and this is available. And here it will give you some options. Let me just increase the font a little bit, and let's disable, and I think it's visible. So I'll go ahead with dark mode. So this is dark theme, also launched during GitHub in US. So in case you are not using still, you can enable it from your homepage. So you can just go to github.com, and here your profile, you can go to your profile, and where is that gone? Okay, just try it. Hey Mehul, hi, thanks for joining. So I'm just trying to find where that thing is gone, but I can, okay. Anyways, so I'll go to settings, and it is available there. This one, appearance. So you can change your theme from here. So if in case you want to use light theme or default system, you can use those. I'm using dark theme right now. And yeah, so we are back here. So here you can actually go ahead and mention the repository name, and you can say, okay, right now I'm saying it's 30 minutes of GitHub. That's the repository name. And you can choose to actually make your repositories public and private. So public repositories will be accessible to everyone. And in case it is private, it won't be available to all. Only you and the collaborators which you add will be able to access the repository. It also gives you a few options. So it says, okay, in case you are creating this new repository, do you want to create a README file? README file is actually some where you can write some information about your project. So I will say, okay, let's skip right now. I don't want to because I'll be creating my own. There are times when you may want to actually not check in few folders or files. This is where the next option, Git Ignore, is really important. We will see that as well in future. So it also says tells you in case you want to use Git Ignore, you can actually check this option, and a Git Ignore file will be created for you. Choosing a license, really important in case you are creating an open source project. So make sure you have a valid license. Generally, I use MIT license. So I'll skip this as well. In case you are using something for DevOps or some tools which is available via GitHub. So here it gives me option that, okay, Travis CI is actually added into my account, and Courtesy, which is also added for code reviews, automated code reviews. And this is it. I can go ahead and create a new repository, and it gives me some options. So it says, okay, you can actually set up this particular repository on your local machine. There are options HTTPS, SSH. SSH is where you have to generate the keys. Probably in next episode, we'll talk about SSH, how you can use it, how you can generate a key. Generally, in case you are working for an organization and they are using GitHub, so just to avoid the uh, commits from an unauthorized user, they use SSH. So you create a key, you add that key into the system, and this is how it gets verified that okay, this is coming from the valid user system. And there are few options. So in case you want to create a new repository on the command line, this is the option. You can actually go to your command line and run all this command, and you can push it on GitHub. You can also actually push the existing repository from the command line. So that's the next option. Or you can actually just import a code. Import a code is actually just dragging your code, and it's available on the GitHub. So right now what I have done is I've already created a folder which I call 30 minutes of GitHub. Here it is. And I've added a folder called day one. As I already have this folder, what I'm going to do is I'm going to initialize this with GitHub first, with Git first, sorry. So I'll say git init. So it says, okay, initialize empty git repository, sorry. And now once my repository is initialized, I can just go ahead and either I can go ahead and do all this, get add readme, or just I can start from here. So I can say, okay, just add the remote. So what this line means is actually I'm mapping my local workspace or local folder to this particular repository. So whatever changes I make, that will be tracked, and whatever differences or new branches which I create, that I can push directly onto this remote origin, which is 30 minutes of GitHub, and it targets my account. You can see Santosh Yadav dev, which is my account, and the repository 30 minutes of Git, which is part of my account. And then I can just say, okay, once this is done, I have to commit the code. So I can say, okay, git commit. So you might see some commands which I'm using right now. These are all Git commands. There is also GitHub client actually which is available. So GitHub, what you can say, CLI, not command line, but I will call it as CLI. So GitHub CLI was also launched last year, and it uses GH rather than Git. It uses GH, and you can also use GitHub CLI to actually commit or create PRs or clone your repository. So almost everything can be done using GitHub CLI as well. So I'm saying, okay, git commit and -m, and this is the one. So I'm saying, okay, this is my initial commit, untracked files. Okay, sorry. Before commit, I have to add the files to be tracked. So this can be achieved using git add. So once you do git add, you can also give a file name or just do dot, which will add all the files which are not tracked to the staged files, which means these files will be committed once you do git commit and pushed to the repository. So here I have done git add now. So you can see this file is inside stage changes. And now I can commit. So I'll say, okay, this is git commit. And this is day one live stream. So you can see there are no changes available right now. And I can now do git push. So it says, okay, now your branch is not available on upstream. So this is the command. This is generally you have to use. This is only for the first time because this branch does not exist. This branch is main, and it says, okay, now this is done. So my repository and the code is actually available on here. So you can see now the day one code is available. The folder is checked in, and you can go ahead and actually, I can share this code with anyone. He'll be able to clone this repository and make his changes and probably raise a PR. So how is that possible? You can see this. This is another thing, right? I mean, so first we saw how we can create a repository. Now let's see how we can interact with this repository once created. So you go to any open source projects, let's say Angular, right, or NGRX or any other project which you want to work with. The first thing which you have to do is you have to actually go ahead and fork it. Remember this. So here you can go to, one second, 30 minutes of GitHub. This is the option. You can fork. Choose the account where you want to fork it. So I'll just use one of the Nginx builders repository where I have the access just to show you. In case it's your own, you don't have to do this. I'm just telling you because most of the time, in case you are contributing to open source, you will be actually doing the changes into someone else's repository. Or in case you have already have the access into that repository, let's say you join any organization on GitHub. In that case, you don't have to probably fork. You can just create a new branch, and because you already is the part of that particular repository, so you will have access to those. But by default, the big projects like React or Angular, you are not going to have those rights. So you have to fork it. So right now what I've done is I've forked this repository into my another account, Nginx Builders, 30 minutes of GitHub. And now how you can clone it, there are multiple ways. Hey Mehul, hey Sarvesh. Uh, as I said, GitHub CLI is an option which is available and it shows you by default because of course GitHub wants to promote GitHub CLI and more users should be using it, but it's okay. So let's say if I have to use HTTPS, I can just copy this path and I will clone this repository. I'll go to the command prompt and here I'll just do cd dot dot and cd dot dot here. So let's say I'm into the Angular path right now, and I'll say git clone and the path which I copied from here, and that's it. So I have cloned. Hey Sunil, hi, thanks for joining. So I've cloned my repository here now. Otherwise, the second option is of course SSH, which we'll see properly later on. And the third option is GitHub CLI. I already have GitHub CLI installed, so I'm going to just directly use it because I'm planning to have another stream where I'll be talking about GitHub CLI only, all the commands. So I can just use GitHub CLI as well. So you can see the commands is a little bit similar. So it says GitHub gh repo clone, where when you use Git client, you say git clone and you give the entire path, HTTPS, Nginx builders. If you see, this is the same path here. The only difference is at the end you have .git. But when you use GitHub CLI, you don't have to do that in because GitHub knows, right? The GitHub, so that you don't have to give entire path. You can just say GitHub repo clone and this path, Nginx builder slash the repository name. So organization or username slash your repository name, and that's it. So this is how you can actually use GitHub CLI, which is available. And let me show you how you can quickly, I think we still have 7 minutes left. So let me show you how you can raise a PR, right? So let's go ahead and do that. I have already cloned the repository. So I'll open that repository here. Yeah, Mehul, I will do another stream to actually explain everything about SSH probably in future. So here, agenda one. So I'll just go ahead and say, mm, add a new agenda probably, discuss, let's say, SSH in next stream. So I made a change. So I cloned the repository and I made a change. Now what I can do is I can just follow the same steps. First, git add. So all the files which I have changed will be now in staged. So you can see they are in staged. And then I can just say git commit. And I can say, okay, add a new agenda, right? So this is the change which I have made. And now I can just say git push. Again, it will tell you, okay, you don't have this available upstream. Okay, it's available because I've already cloned it. So sorry. And now there is a cool thing about this one. Now I can just click on this link and here. So if I go to my repository and sorry. Here I can just go ahead and say this is not compare. I wanted to open a pull request. Here I can say pull request, and you can see it says, okay, the base repository is this from where we actually fork this repository. To which branch we have to merge? Always this is default branch, which is main right now. And then from where you want to merge this. And then I can just create a pull request. And in case you want to add something, some message here or some comment, you can just go ahead and do that and create a new pull request. And now this pull request will be visible to me who owns the repository. So let's say it's Angular and you raised a new PR. So it will be available inside the pull request of that particular repository. And the user or the owner of that particular repository can go to this PR and see, okay, what Santosh raised a PR. Okay, let's see what it is. So it is, okay, this is the commit message and what is changed. So I can go to this and see, okay, this is something which is changed. And probably as a owner of this repository, I have the rights to approve, reject, or give suggestions, right? So I can probably give a comment, delete this. And while giving review comments, please don't use strong words. So I'll say, okay, delete this, we'll add it later, start a review and finish your review. So I'll say, okay, finish with comment. You can also approve or request changes. So here, right now, I don't have any, what you can say, I don't have any security. So I can go ahead and merge my pull request, or anyone who has actually access or write access to this repository can go ahead and merge this pull request. So this is it. So you can see this is how you can actually go ahead and start. You can create, first you have to install Git client, then you have to create a new repository. Then you can just do Git init in case you already have your code available on local. Otherwise, in case code exists on the remote, you can just clone the repository and start using it. Git add dot to move all the files to stage, and then you can use git commit to commit all the changes, and then use git push to push all the changes to the remote. So this is it for today. In case you have any interesting topic to talk about, I mean, I got some idea that people wants to know about SSH, so I'll probably take that in upcoming episodes. So this episode is going to be twice a month. So it will be, next episode will be something around, and it will be Fridays. So let me just tell you when will be the next episode, probably on 11th. So next episode is going to be on 11th, and then next episode is on 25th. So probably you liked it. In case you have, of course, I got some suggestions, but in case you have any more, you can just let me know. I'll plan it accordingly. So I'll try to it, because it's only for twice a month, so I won't be able to give put a lot of contents. But yes, 30 minutes is, I think, which you can probably not much for everyone, right? I mean, so yeah. So see you on 11th, and I'll come up with something else related to GitHub. So thanks for joining, and have a great day and great weekend. Bye, everyone.